Ethan Sinclair didn't dare argue. Though Xavier Ashford was technically their peer, his towering success set him far above the rest. Ethan gave Aria a look and said softly, "I'll wait for you in the car." Aria forced a weak smile. Ethan left, and the nearby police officers quickly caught on. One of them grinned and said, "Attorney Ashford seems to have private matters to discuss. Let's give them some space." Aria felt utterly speechless. Once the room had emptied, silence settled like a heavy blanket. Xavier fiddled with the cigarette between his fingers. His long, strong fingers made even the simplest gesture seem effortlessly elegant. After a moment, he looked up at her. "Miss Delacroix, you have quite the influence." Aria froze. Instinctively, she tried to explain herself. "Today's situation had nothing to do with me." "You want to say it wasn't about you?" Xavier smirked faintly, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Miss Delacroix, do you honestly not understand why they fought?" Aria's face drained of color. Standing before the powerful Xavier Ashford, any explanation she could offer felt utterly useless. He was Xavier Ashford, the country's most formidable attorney. And she? She was just a fragile weed barely holding on in the storm. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Attorney Ashford, I assure you, I will never interfere in your sister's relationship." Xavier suddenly stood and walked toward her. Aria didn't move. Her wide eyes glistened with unshed tears as she stared up at him, helpless and cornered. Xavier's hand reached out, his fingertips lightly grazing her cheek. Aria flinched, her face turning away in shame and humiliation. Xavier's voice was calm but sharp. "Miss Delacroix, you must feel so wronged. Talon betrayed you, ran off with Cara, and now you've become the villain in this story. Doesn't it feel unfair?" "I'm not." Aria protested. "Do you still think about him?" Xavier pressed. "I don't." Aria cried, her voice cracking. Xavier dropped his hand and stepped back slightly, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I believe you, Miss Delacroix." Aria's chest rose and fell rapidly, her face flushed with a mixture of anger and embarrassment. Her voice was soft but sharp. "Xavier, you're a bastard." But Xavier wasn't angry. He merely observed her quietly, his gaze intense and unreadable. After a long silence, he spoke softly. "You did nothing wrong, Aria. Your only mistake was believing in love too deeply." Aria froze at his words. By the time she processed them, Xavier had already turned and walked away. Driving his car, Xavier remained silent. In the rearview mirror, he occasionally caught glimpses of Cara snuggling up to Talon, her face glowing with happiness. A faint smirk played on Xavier's lips, tinged with irony. The Bentley came to a smooth stop outside a restaurant. Talon got out, leaning slightly to thank Xavier. Their eyes met briefly, exchanging an unspoken understanding. Cara climbed into the front passenger seat. "Girls should behave more elegantly," Xavier scolded lightly. Cara dismissed his comment with a smile and started chattering. "Miss Delacroix is quite pretty. I can't believe Ethan likes someone like her. Xavier, I think she's a size C." Xavier lowered the window slightly, a sudden wave of heat coursing through him. Cara continued babbling. "He's so pretty. Honestly, I almost suspected something happened between her and Talon. But thankfully she's Ethan's problem now." Xavier said nothing, his focus returning to the road. At a red light, he turned slightly to Cara and asked casually, "When are you getting married?" Cara blushed shyly. "That depends on Talon. He's so focused on his career right now." Xavier smirked faintly. "Does he love you?" "Of course. What does he love about you?" Cara listed them proudly. "My family background, my education, my looks, my successful brother." Xavier let out a soft chuckle, his smirk laced with irony.